open with the simple question of why Vietnam?
You know, naturally for me, it's one of those things that is innate to me because my dad was part of it. You know, I'm Vietnamese, 100% Vietnamese, and so the Vietnam War in itself had a very direct effect on my life because without it, I personally wouldn't be here. On the bigger picture, it's one of those things that when it occurred, to me, because this is a faculty series, I felt that there would be quite a few people in the community as well as at Mount Mercy that would relate to this topic and that would have interest in it. And so being a fall faculty series, and we want to try to involve the community as much as possible, it was a natural topic for me. I mean, I know my parents came over in '75, and so when I'm looking at the years, I was looking, we like to do certain anniversaries, and so that day, when I looked, I wanted to confirm whether or not, my numbers were, right in my head, and so it was just something that when I looked up earlier that day before the meeting, it was confirmed that, this would have been a great opportunity to be able to do that.
What year anniversary is it?
You have 2-year anniversaries there. It is so in '65 is when the United States troops first came in. And so I think if you do the math there, that would be 50 years. And then '75 is when they pulled out, and so that would be the 40th year anniversary of that as well.
Right.
I would say that there's a rich culture and rich diversity that has been brought to the United States because of that. And so, I mean, had the United States not come in, again, you wouldn't have a lot of the Vietnamese culture having to immigrate into the country and bring their culture and bring their ideas and whatever else. And so, you have that aspect of it. You have the aspect of, it's really interesting because when you go back and you look at the history of how the war was fought, it's really interesting because you look at our own Civil War, and and not our Revolutionary War, not Civil War. Our Revolutionary War was fought the way that the Vietnamese fought. I mean, they were always hidden. And so we were fighting. Essentially the way that the strategy that we utilized was not going to be effective. And when you look at the history, it's funny that history repeats itself, and so there's so many different themes that you can use with that.
What was your family story as far as how did your father and mother end up coming here?
So as I said, my dad was second in charge of his boat, and when they ported, his commanding officer fled. And so when his commanding officer fled, he himself told his soldiers, go and find your family. Come back here. And when they had ported, there were already thousands of families waiting to board the ship. And so it was just actually a matter of a miracle that, when my dad went, because even inland, they already knew, two older sisters even. And so it was one of those things that they just fortunately ran into each other. And then we're able to get back, and then from that point on, my dad said that he loaded about 3,000 families onto his boat. They went and picked up another officer, pretty much would be his commanding officer at the time, and then they went on to refuge after that.
Are there going to be guest speakers then at this event?
I think so. I think the beauty, that was the other thing as I was thinking about bringing this topic up, is that as relatable as it is, I think that I think we have more people that could speak on it on a personal level. You have Vietnam vets. You have, not only the American Vietnam vets, you have the Vietnamese Vietnam vets as well. I mean, my dad is a part of a big camaraderie where they meet every other year, that I personally I'm going to appeal to my dad and his friends to be like, hey, you know what? We're doing this one thing. I would love, I think, and one idea that I had in my mind is to truly have an event where we have both the American Vietnamese vets as well as the Vietnamese vet in one setting, maybe as, get them together, just talk, and then just kind of have maybe a forum for people to just kind of interact. But I definitely think we'll have guest speakers from that perspective. I'd like to probably do some cultural things as well. Potentially, just kind of for for Mount Mercy, the Mount Mercy community, as well as the Cedar Rapids community, to understand the Vietnamese culture as well. The United States went in and without really understanding some of the culture and understanding what that meant. Because the Vietnamese, while they were very influenced by the Chinese, there's still some differences there. And so, especially now. So, I think, we could talk about the culture then and now and how things have changed and how.
Where do you and your family hail from Vietnam?
Some from South Vietnam. My dad's family is originally from North Vietnam until there was that break, and so they moved to South Vietnam. So they moved to what we would call Saigon, and so my dad's family would be from Saigon, and my mom's family is from Phan Thiet, which is a little bit closer to the ocean.
Do you mind spelling that?
Yeah, PHAN THIET. It was really neat, I thought, to hear the buzz, like especially when the vote finally finished. It was really neat to hear everybody talking. It was one of those few times that that I think we've been at a faculty meeting that everybody was really on board and talking about it, and they were, it just seemed like not everybody had something, but there were a lot of faculty that were like, oh yeah, we can come up with this and this and this, and they would come up to me afterwards, and it was really interesting to hear. They're like, you know what, this is a great topic. I got a lot more faculty coming up to me saying they have a personal interest in trying to contribute to this faculty series, which for me it was very rewarding. That one of the biggest things I think I would like to accomplish is I'd like to see more individuals from the community coming on the campus, just to learn and participate and be a part of it. It was really, on my end, I wasn't even sure if I should bring it up because the list that he had there was a good list, but it was just one of those things. I was even sitting back there.
You couldn't
Even,
keep quiet.
I couldn't keep quiet. I was just like, I don't know how Joe's gonna take this, and I probably, I even thought in the back of my head, I was like, I probably should have whispered this, before Joe went up there, because I knew, he literally was just right across from me, and I probably should have just tapped his shoulder, and I said, hey, you know what, I have another topic you might want to add onto your PowerPoint, but, I couldn't. There were some discussions going on elsewhere, and so I just kind of sat back, and I literally did. I'm not one of the most timid individuals at all, and I was really tentative to raise my hand and to suggest something else because we actually already have a lot of topics there. And but when I brought that up, it was really interesting and really nice to hear the reception from